So, in the last class, we were talking about Spring MVC. That is where we stopped. Today, we'll continue our discussion of Spring MVC. We'll carry forward our discussion. So, in the last class, we saw Spring MVC flow, how to work with Spring MVC, Spring MVC flow. We saw various components in Spring MVC, right? So, can you people name the Spring MVC components? List down the Spring MVC components which you saw in the last class. Yeah. Yes. Name the Spring MVC components which are involved in the request processing flow. Okay, dispatcher. Dispatcher servlet. Okay, I can take controllers, not model components. Model components can be anything. They're all Java objects. You can encapsulate business logic or some data in it. And we saw at least a couple of other components apart from dispatcher servlet and controllers. What are they? Yes. You have handler mapper and view resolver. Yes, handler mapper and view resolver. Just remember these components, okay? Yes. Okay, you see handler mapper, view resolvers. Okay, fine. Just want to make sure that you can quickly recollect. You see, dispatcher servlet initially it will take the request with the help of handler mapper. It will get the reference of the controller which is supposed to process this incoming request. It will call the controller to process the request. The controller with the help of model component will process the request. Then It returns a model in view object which contains the response data as well as the view component details. Dispatches servlet then it refers that view name which is in the model and view object to the view resolver. View resolver returns that the view details, and then the dispatcher servlet will call the view component and will pass the response data to it. And view component will sorry and view component will render the response here. Yes. So this is what happens. Yeah. Okay. So today, based on this flow, let's try to develop an application. Here we'll work with the order processing which we did earlier. Uh, Order processing. Okay. In the core, in Spring Core module, we have gone through this order processing flow, right? So let's implement it here in the MVC. So what you'll do in the MVC, additionally, you need to add a web page. So we don't have a user interface, right? UI to read that order details and then also display that order details. We need those details. Yes. So I'll be implementing this flow. So we'll provide a web page to the users so that they can provide that order details. Generally, what are the order details you'll have? Um, we don't have much to take. I just we have three values as part of this order details, right? Yeah. So order ID, product ID, and requested quantity. So these are the three details which we need. So I'll create a JSP page to take this order details and initiate the order processing. Okay, we'll create a JSP page which will take this order details like order ID, product ID, and requested quantity. I mean the order quantity, you can say order quantity to initiate that order processing. Okay, so here where you will add this JSP page, you see in the web app folder. In the sources, in the SRC folder down, you should see web app. Under the web app, you should see, uh, sorry, under the web app, you can add it now directly. Okay. Select this web app folder. Make sure that you make a note of it again. Later on, you'll be confused where to add the GSP. Yeah. So in the web app folder, I'm adding it. Right click on this web app folder. You got new JSP file. Okay. You don't see this JSP file option. Do one thing. Make sure that you select the Java E perspective. So in the window perspective, open perspective, go to this and select Java E perspective. Okay. Now here you see you got this package explorer option. You see in the web app, as I told you people, you need to add it. Deployed resources, you find this folder. Under that you have this web app. In the web app folder you add a JSP. Right click on that web app folder. You will find new JSP file option here. Okay, select this JSP file, new JSP file. So the JSP file name, which I'll call it as order JSP because it takes order details now. Let's call it as order JSP. I'll click on finish. So now we got this JSP page. Let's quickly add a form here to take that order details. So I will call it as order form. Product ID. So we'll also provide order ID as of now, but it has to be generated automatically. So later on you can do that. I'll take order ID also as an input here now. Yes. Then quantity, order quantity. So we'll add a submit button, value equal to register. Next. So we have this form now, order form. So which takes this order detail. Now what's the next thing here? We need to process this order form. And when users submit the form, this request has to be processed. Now, can you people tell me which component of the MVC will be responsible for processing this request? Which component of the MVC will be responsible for processing this request? Hope you got my question.
Dispatcher servlet.
Dispatches servlet, okay. Dispatches servlet, mm, dispatcher servlet, when it process the request, it will intercept the request, but there is another component who is responsible for processing the request. What is it? The controller. Yes. Dispatcher servlet is a predefined servlet, so which will initially intercept that request, but it won't process the request on its own. Instead, you'll find that here the controller will be responsible for that. The controller is responsible for that. Yes. Right? So you will find that this controller will read that request information and will process that request. Controller will read that request information and process the request here. That is what happens. We need to create this controller. Yes. So how do we create a controller? In the last class you saw that. So controller, it's pretty simple. So you can create a controller by defining a class here. Yes. Just we need to define a class and annotate it with @controller annotation. Yes. Let's see. Let's define a Java class first of all. I'll create a package called as controller, and I'll call this controller class as order controller. Now this is just a normal Java class. Let's make it a controller. How? Just use this annotation @controller. Okay. Now in this controller, you'll write that request processing code. So controller is responsible for processing the request, right? Yeah. We have to define a method here in the controller to take that request to process that request. Yes. So this method which will define is just a user defined method. It's not a predefined method, I can say. Yes. Just a user defined method. So the return type of this method, I'll make it model in view, and I'll call this method process order request. In this method, it is supposed to read that request information, right? So if you remember in servlets, we have service method which will take that request and will process the request, right? Do get method. We saw do methods. In servlets, we got do method, do get, do best, do post. What it does basically, it takes a request object and response objects. So servlet reads that request information through the request object, right? It's called as HTTP servlet request object. Now, here also, you can use the same HTTP servlet request object to take that request information. Later on, what we'll do is, we don't have to explicitly read the information this way, request information. We can leave it to the container. I'll show you that also. Reading that request information, we'll leave it to the container. I mean, not to the container, to the framework, MVC framework. So MVC framework itself will be responsible for reading that request information. Okay, so we don't have to explicitly read that request information. So now here in this method, let's write the code to read that details, request information. Request dot get parameter. So what is the parameter name? We have this data, right? Order ID, product ID, and quantity. So these are the three values which we need to read. Order ID. So this get parameter method of the request object, it is used to read that request information, right? The same as servlets. What we did in the servlets, here, we're also doing the same. So using the request object, we'll read that request information. We'll pass that parameter name, the text field name, uh, order ID. Yes. So always this get parameter method, it returns a string value. Order ID is integer type. So we have to transform the string to integer type here. Transform string to integer type. That is what we need to do. Yes. How? Integer dot parseInt of, use this method parseInt. Straight away you will get that order ID. You will get an integer value. Yes. Next, let's read the product ID for which the request is placed. Again, you'll follow the same approach. Product ID. And then what else we have? Quantity. So these are the three details which you need. Okay. Now we got the details. So what's the next thing we have to do here? We need to process this order, right? Check that product availability and order quantity, availability of the quantity. Yes, whether this quantity is available or not to take that order. So already we did write that logic, right? So we have that code to process that order details. So let's make use of it. I will copy that. I will copy those classes here. You see, which you got. The DB source, repository, service, value objects, everything from the core project. I'm copying it, which you have created earlier. Yeah, you see, um, we have product DB store, the repository, product service, and the value object. This is the order class here. These are the same things. You got order class, which is used to store order details, right? And then we have product DB store, and in memory data source, I can say, where you have the product details, and product repository, which helps us to read the product details, search for the product details, right? I mean, it helps the service component to get this product details from the DB store. And we have this product service, which will process that order. If it takes order object as input, we have process order method. You see, it takes that order object as input, and it will check. It will first fetch that product from the that DB source. It will check that product details from the DB source, and then it will check that available quantity. It will cross check it with that order quantity, and accordingly further it will process the request. You see, whether to take that request or not. Yes. So if there is sufficient quantity, then what happens? You'll find that the quantity, ordered quantity, will be deducted from the DB source, right? From the available quantity, that ordered quantity will be deducted. You know that. So even we have the code here. So it will call update product to update that or product quantity. Yes. So these are all the things which you got here in this process order. So now the controller, what it does is, with the help of product service, it will process this order request, I can say. With the help of product service, it will process that order. Order. So order. Yes. So let's store the order details in that order object. Actually, straight away we can create a order object and store the details directly. Just for your convenience sake, I've just did that. So first we are reading that order details, and then you see you'll pass that order details to this order class constructor when you instantiate this order class. Yes. Now in that order object, we got the order details. Next, in order to process the request, this order controller, it needs product service component. Order controller needs product service component here, right? Yes. So let's ask the framework to inject that product service into this order controller. So how will you do that? How do we ask the framework to inject that product service into this controller? What are we supposed to do? So we need to declare the product service reference variable here as a property in this controller class first of all, right? Yes, we need to wire that beans. Bean wiring is our responsibility, right? So here I will declare that product service, but I won't declare the product service class reference variable. Instead, I'll declare this reference variable of type interface. So that product service class, it implements this interface. So we'll use this interface reference variable. Yes, and then we have to annotate it with auto void annotation. That's it. So product service now is a dependency for your order controller. Product service is a dependency for your order controller here. Yes. So now once the controller gets the order, once an order is placed, once the controller is done reading the order details, so it will call this product service components method process order. Okay. Yes. This way. It will pass that order details. So that process order method, once it is done processing the request, okay, it returns a boolean value which indicates whether that order is processed successfully or not. It returns an integer value which indicates whether the order is successfully processed or not. If it returns true, then the order is processed successfully. Else, order processing failed, let's say. Here, This order controller will take that boolean value. You see, now based on the results, if it returns true, then the controller, let's say what it does is it will display a response. I mean, it won't directly display the response. The controller, what it does is here, it will send the result appropriately to that view component. View component means here the JSP. It will return the result, the response here. So if the request is processed successfully, then it sends a message that the request is processed successfully. It sends a message that the request is processed successfully. Else, it will send an alternate message that the order requested order has failed. That's it. Okay. Yes. Unable to process your request. Something like that. A text message. So that is the response the controller will return, and which has to be displayed by the view component, the JSP page. So, you know, if the request is processed successfully, we'll also print that order details. If the request is processed successfully, we'll also print the order details. Okay. So the controller is supposed to share that order details with the JSP, the view component, I can say. Okay. Yeah. So that is the code which we need to write. Send some response back to the JSP. So how will you do that? So for this, I need JSPs first of all. Let me create JSPs quickly here. Where you will create a JSP, you see, the JSP especially which render the response back to the client. So you add them here to this views folder. Okay. You add them here to this views folder. Yes. So you see, select this views folder. This is your JSP. Now I'm creating a JSP file in this views folder. Let's say order success JSP. So if the order is placed successfully, so this JSP will be no, which will print that response that order is processed successfully, and also it will print the order details. Let's say, okay, this JSP itself will print the order details. Yes. Next, order failure. For order failure, I'll just create another JSP. You see, I've just created another JSP for order failure. Yes. So this way, you see, we have two JSPs to render the response appropriately. Yes. So now, in the controller, we'll write this code. So how the controller will return the response? what the controller is supposed to do here in this case? Yes, you people are aware of it. What to do?
Creating model object.
Through the model and view object.
Through the
Yes.
model and view object. Yes.
So we need to create this
So
controller.
we this controller.
Video. Thank you. So we need this controller is supposed to create a model and view object to send the response back to the dispatcher servlet. So dispatcher servlet will be calling this controller, as I told you people. You see in the flow, now the controller will return the model and view object. Yes. So let's create that model and view object here. You see, what is the view name? Now it depends on the result. You see, if result, if it is true, then I'll create a model and view object here. You see, to this constructor, we need to pass that view name. So which view or which JSP will be responsible for rendering the response for successful processing? We have order success JSP, right? We pass that view name here. Yes. While instantiating this class, model and view, we'll pass that view name this way. Next, as I told you people, I want this controller to also share the order details. I want this controller to share the order details. So how the order details will be shared? Through the model and view object itself. So here you can add that order object to this model and view object itself this way. You see, add it to this model and view object itself. So you see, the first parameter which you pass to this add object method will be the name of the object. Yes, that object or the data, whatever the response data which you add to this model and view object, you need to give the name. Okay, name is mandatory. Let's give a name. I'll call it as order itself. And the second parameter is the order object. The second parameter is the order object here. Yes. This way you need to pass the response data to this add object method, which will store it into this model and view object. So basically we are storing that order object here in the model and view object with the name order. You see the first parameter is a string, which is the name for this order object. Okay. Yes, that's it. Okay. So else we'll construct another response. What is it? Sorry, we'll create another model and view object where the name will be order failure, the JSP name. Then in this case, I won't send any response. Okay, so we won't send that order details. Now straight away we'll return that model and view object. Okay, fine. There is a problem. We need to make sure that we declare this model and view object reference variable outside that if block, else it will be visible only in that if block. Okay, you can just declaring it on top. Okay, you can return it. That's it. So we are done creating this controller. So which will take that order details from that form and will call that product service to process this order, and it will get a response from the product service based on that result or response which it gets from the product service. Further, you see, it is processing this request here. It sends a response which will be rendered back to the end users. So JSP will take care of it. So which view component is supposed to render the response? What should be the response? So those details will be provided by this controller here. Yes, that is what we are doing, right? Yeah. Now the dispatcher servlet will take this model and view object. Okay. Once this controller returns that model and view object, dispatcher servlet will take that model and view object. And then what it does next? Can you people tell me? Yeah, very good. Now the controller will take this model and view object, and what it does, not controller, I'm sorry, dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet will take this model and view object, and then here it reads that view name from that model and view object, and it returns it to this view resolver. It will pass it to the view resolver. Now view resolver, it helps the dispatcher servlet to locate that JSP, sorry, that view component. In this case, it's the JSP itself. Yeah, to locate that view component, which is a JSP. So the view resolver will help. So view resolver will take that view name and returns the complete location of that view component. You will get the complete path of that view component. Then you see, you'll find that the dispatcher service will call that view component with that path using the details, and will pass the response data as well. Yes, it will also pass the response data. Yes. You know, the next thing here, we need to write the code in that view component. Let's do that. Just a minute, please. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, sorry. So now let's write the code here in the JSP. So first we'll write the code in this order success JSP. So what it does, you see, okay, it will display a message, let's say order processed successfully, and then we'll display that order details, order ID. Now you see that order object will be passed on to this JSP page. So how the JSP page will be able to read or access that order object and read the data from that order object? That's the question. Okay, how the JSP page can read that order details? Yes, you know it's pretty simple and straightforward. So what is the name of the object which is added to that model view object? It's order, right? This is the name which is given to that object. Now in the controller, sorry, in the JSP page, just use this expression dollar of brackets, brackets, you see curly brackets, and specify that object name order and the property name order ID. That's all. It's very easy to read the data from the Java object here in the JSP page. That's all you need to do. Okay. Any object, use the name of the object and the property name. Specify the property name here. That's all. So this is how you'll be displaying the order details. Yes. Next, we have other properties also, right? Let's read them. You got product ID. So order dot product ID, and then the quantity order dot quantity. Yes, that's it. Okay. So let's try to display this details here. I'll deploy this application on the server. We are done. So I'll explain the flow once again. Okay, I'm sorry. You have to also just print some message here in the order field of JSP also, right? So here, I'll just print this message. Fail to process your order. Yeah, this is the message which I'll display. Let's deploy this application on the server.
We didn't write that request mapping, sir, on the method in controller.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So let's try to do that. I forgot to add that mapping, and we have to associate that or link the JSP to this controller also. So we didn't do that. Let's just add it quickly at the rate request mapping. And then here you can just configure a URL for this. Let's say process order. Okay, this is the URL. And now we'll link this controller's method to the JSP form. We have a form here, right? Just paste it here in the action URL. So whenever this form is submitted, now what happens? You see, the request will be placed for this URL, which are specified here in the action attribute. What is it? Order process. Now, on the server side, when the server takes this request, you see, it will forward it to the dispatcher servlet. Now, dispatcher servlet, with the help of handler mapper, will try to identify the controller. So, handler mapper, you see, uh, it will check for the controller method, which is configured with this URL process or order. So if it finds it, simply the handler mapper will provide the controller's reference whose method's URL is configured with order process to the dispatcher servlet. And then the dispatcher servlet here call that controller's method. Yes, that is how it works. So this is the last part which we didn't do. Okay. Okay. Let's test our code. So already the application is deployed. Once again, just let me just once restart it. Okay. Now let's access the JSP page first of all. So what is the JSP here? Order JSP. So we got this order form. Now let's try to provide the order details here. Something like this. Say product ID 102, quantity say 50. We'll place the request now with this order details. And we got some issue just a minute. Property not found. Okay, got it. So actually, yeah, in the JSP page here, this property name is not quantity. It is you're trying to access that order object property, right? It is requested quantity actually. Okay, requested quantity into property name. That's the problem. Okay, you don't have to restart this application if you modify the JSP. You can just test this page. Place a fetch request. You see, I'm providing this details. The product ID is 101 and quantity is 40. Now, in the source, in the in-memory DB source, we have this product whose ID is 101. And what is the available quantity is 200. Okay. The available quantity is 200. Yes. So, now what I'm going to do is here, I'll submit this form. Click on register. Yeah. You see, we got this order details. Now, just a minute, please. Yeah. So let's do one thing. Here you see this product's order quantities, sorry, the available quantities 200, right? Now it has detected. So when you place the order, you have placed the order for quantity 40, right? Now it is 160. Now I'll place a fetch request with the order quantity as 200. Okay. Yes. Now you'll find that this time this order should fail. Okay. This order is supposed to fail here. Yes, let's see. I'll submit this form. You see, because that order quantity is detected, right? Yes, it is 160 now. Available quantity is 160. So now you should see this message. Yeah, sorry, failed to process the order. Let's So let me just quickly explain this, what happens. Okay. First of all, when you submit the form, so initially your dispatcher service will take this request and it will read that action URL and it will pass it on to the handler mapper. Okay. You know that. So action URL will be provided to that handler mapper. So that handler mapper will help the dispatcher servlet to get that controller's reference to process this client's request. You know, did we configure handler mapper anywhere in the application? We have configured dispatcher servlet in the web.xml file, you know that. But how about the handler mapper? Yes, did we configure handler mapper anywhere?
In controller,
Actually, we didn't configure handler mapper. Handler mapper is a predefined component and you don't have to explicitly configure handler mapper anywhere. Yes, you don't have to configure handler mapper explicitly anywhere. Yes, you got it. We didn't configure handler mapper anywhere. You don't have to do that. Yes, remember this point. So handler mapper will be loaded automatically when the Spring MVC application loads, and it will read all that mappings, request mapping URLs. You see, it will check the controllers. It will scan for these controllers. Okay. The handler mapper's responsibility is to take this mapping details, URLs of the controllers. Okay. It will have the details about the controllers and the URLs configured for each controller. Those details will be with the handler mapper. Okay. Yes. So what happens here? You see, handler mapper will take that action URL and it will look for the controller which is configured with this action URL. If it finds it, simply it returns that controller's reference. Now in this case, yes, we have a controller, order controller, whose URL is process order, right? So it returns that controller's reference. Handler mapper provides that controller's reference to this dispatcher servlet. Now dispatcher servlet will take that controller's reference and it will call that controller here. It will call that controller's method. What is it? Process order request. So this method will be called when the user places the request for that URL process order. Yes. Now you see this controller, what it is doing. First of all, it reads that form data, right? The request information through the request object. It is doing that through the request object. It is reading that request information. I can say first of all, and then it is adding the details to the order object here. It is adding those details to the order object. Yes. Next, Here, see, this is order object. Now what it does, with the help of that product service, it will process that order. Okay, that business logic will be executed here, which is in that product service. So this product service method process order is called. So which will fetch the product details from the product DB store. Okay, it will check for that available quantity, and accordingly it will process the request. If that order quantity is available, then it will update that available quantity. Okay, it will update that available product quantity. Yes, this is what happens. Okay, and accordingly it returns that boolean value if it is able to successfully process a request. I mean, if it can take that order, it returns true, else it returns false. Yes. Okay. Next, the controller will take that boolean value and it will check that result. If it is true, then it will further send the response. How it creates a model and view object here to send the response. You know that. You see, while creating that model and view object, you see to that model and view class constructor, it is passing the view name. What is the view name? Order success. If the order is placed successfully, so this JSP whose name is order success has to render the response, right? Yeah. And to that JSP, it is also providing that order details. How it will add those order details to the model and view object itself here. You see this way. In the model and view object, you got a method called as add object to take that object name as well as that object reference. In that object, you have the data now, right? Yes. Else, you see, it creates another model and view object and will pass the other JSP name which will render the failure response. Yes. Okay. So this is how it works. Now the JSP, you see, the JSP name, the dispatcher servlet will read the JSP name from the model and view object, right? What is the JSP name? It depends. If the order is processed successfully, order success is the JSP name, which is stored in that model and view object. Now the dispatcher servlet here, it refers that JSP name to this view resolver. We got a view resolver which is configured here in the servlet context XML file. The view resolver name is internal resource view resolver, right? Yes, it has got two properties, prefix and suffix. So prefix is actually the path or the location of that folder. It refers to that folder where you have the JSPs, you see, and the suffix is the extension .jsp. I can say that always this view resolver called as internal resource view resolver, it resolves a JSP, it resolves a view name to a JSP. It resolves a view name to a JSP page, I can say. Yes. So that is what happens. Okay. What it does in our case, you see, let's say that view name is order success. This internal resource we resolver will prefix that view name with webin views and will suffix it with .jsp. So this prefix and suffix values will be added to that view name. So prefix will be prefixed here with this view name, and suffix will be suffixed to this view name. That's it. So that is how it works. Yes. So this way always a view name it is resolved to a JSP page here. Yes. The view name will be resolved to a JSP page. So this is the flow. And the JSP when it is invoked, you see that JSP that response data is passed on that data which is in that objects. And JSP can easily read the data from the objects here using expression language. We've got expression language which it will make use of to read the response data. So is this flow clear for you people, all of you? Anyone got any questions? Let me know. Yes? Any questions? Yes. Do not hesitate. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, good. Now let's do one thing. Here I'll try to also display the product details which are available. Okay, let's write that code. You see, in the DB source, we have that product details, right? The available product details, I want to display them here. The available product details, I want to display them here. Product ID, product name, and the quantity which is available, such details I want to display them. So, how can we do that? So that means the users should be able to view that product details which are available. So what to do? You people tell me. How can we do that? So in a web page, I want to display the product details. So what we will do? Okay, here you see we got this product controller, right? I'm going to use the same product controller. We'll add another method here in this oh, sorry, not product controller. We have order controller, right? I'm sorry. Uh, I'll do one thing. I'll create another controller, call it product controller, which helps us to read the product details. And also going forward, let's add the option to add the products as well. Okay. Yes. So here the controller can have multiple methods for processing different kinds of requests. I'll create a controller with the name product controller. Now, what this controller is supposed to do, okay, just annotate it with controller. In this controller, we'll add a method, okay, with the name which returns a model and view object, and the method name, let's say, display products, something like this. So for this method, you don't need any inputs. So by default, it has to display all the products from the DB source. So that is what this controller is supposed to do. So now the product details are with the product DB source, right? The product DB source is a kind of in-memory data source for you where we got these details. Yeah. Now what we are supposed to do here, first of all, that controller, it needs that product DB source reference. So it's a dependency now for the controller. The product DB source is going to be the dependency. Yes. So let's ask the container to inject this dependency. Sorry. Product DB source. See product DB store. And then just can auto edit. Yes. Now the controller will have a reference to this product DB store. And actually, I mean, will not directly access it, okay, because it's a database. I'm sorry. So let's do one thing. Instead, we'll take the help of repository, product repository, which provides the access to the DB store. The concept of, encapsulating all the data, so data access code in the repositories or DOs, so that is very essential. So here, we got methods in the repository to fetch a product record based on the ID and to update the product quantity, but we don't have a method to fetch all the product records, right? In the interface, let's add that method as well. So now the repository classes have to implement this method to fetch all the product records. Okay, fetch products, let's say. So we'll make this repository classes to implement this method called as fetch products. So product DB store dot get products. You see, in the product DB store, we have a getter method to return that list of products. Okay, so here We have product DB also, which implements that interface side. Let me at least add blank implementation here. Fetch products. Yeah, that's it. Now the controller can take the help of that repository to fetch that product details from the DB store. I product repository. Then we'll auto-wire it. Iterate auto-wire. Now when this method is called, you see, it returns list of product objects. In the repository, now we have a method which returns list of product objects. That's it. Okay. Now you see this controller's method, it won't directly display this records, right? What the controller's method does, it will actually it should provide this product details to the JSP page. I mean, it won't directly provide this product details to the JSP page, right? So what this controller does here, yes, how it will return the response data, how it will share that the product details, what it is supposed to do. Through the model and view object, that's right. So now the controller can share this response data through the model and view object. Yes. So let's add the response data to the model and view object here. That is what we'll do. So I'm adding this response data to the model and view object this way. So what is the view name? So let's say the view name is products view. Let's say the JSP name. We have to create the JSP, which will render that product details. Will render the response here. So now I'll add that products list to the model and view object here, so that it will be available to the JSP page. And we can return that model and view object here. Yes. Now annotate this method with request mapping. You have to configure a URL for this method, right? It says /products. That's it. Now we got the controller. What's the next thing we need to do? Create a JSP which will display this products list provided by this controller. Yes. So where you will create the JSP deployed resources, we have webin folder, views. Under the views, you'll do this. This is here. In the views folder, I'm creating a JSP file, products view.jsp. Yes. So we have this JSP page now here. Now in the JSP page, we'll create it. Let's add a header, product records. So we'll create a table. We'll add a row to this table with some column headings, product ID, product name, price, and description. Yes. Okay. Now you know what? Here we need the support to display the product records which are in that list. We got a collection, right? Now we have the product records in that list. So how the JSP can traverse through this list here and display the records? How can we do that? Yes. You know, here we can go for JSTL for this purpose. In JSP, we got something called as JSTL. It's a tag library. First, you have to import the tag library this way. So when I say tag library, that means you have set of tags, predefined tags here. These tags are similar to your HTML tags, but they won't work in HTML. They only work in JSPs. Okay. So we have such tag library which is available for the JSPs, so which we can make use of here. So first, if you want to use the tag library, you see, you have to import the tag library. This is the URI. We are importing a JSTL core tag library, I can say. That is what we are doing here. I'll add some comments for your reference. Importing core JSTL core tag library. That is what we are doing. In the JSTL core tag library, we have a tag called as for each. You see, have you noticed it? Prefix. You can think of it as a kind of reference to the tag library. So you can access that tags from the tag library using this prefix. You can use this prefix, I can say. Okay. Yes. Now I'm going to use this for each tag to iterate through that list. So a list is passed on to the JSP page. The controller, you see, it is adding a list, right? It is adding a list here to the model and view object. The list name is products. So that list now, it will be available for this JSP. Okay. So because this JSP is part of processing that request here, for this JSP, that list will be available. You can say. Yes. You see, let's provide that list object reference. How will you read that list here? You know that just now I told you people. How will you read that list?
dollar,
Yeah, you use this expression dollar of flower brackets or curly brackets products that list name. That's it. Now you know for each tag is similar to a for each loop in Java. So it can iterate through that products list for us. And for each iteration, it will read an element. For each iteration, it will read an element and it will store that element's reference in a temporary variable. Okay. Yes. We'll declare the temporary variable var equal to product. You see, it's just a temporary variable. Using this var attribute, in the for each tag, you have this var attribute. So use this var attribute to declare the temporary variable of each. Okay. Yes. Next, here you see, now for each loop will iterate through this list. For each iteration, it reads the element from the list and it will store it in this temporary variable product. And from that product variable, we have to read the data. I mean, the product variable holds the reference to that element or object. So for each iteration, one element will be read from the list and it will be that element's reference is stored in this product variable, temporary variable. Now you know how to read the data given an object reference here. Yes. So dollar of product dot id. So what are the property names? Once let's check the properties name so that we don't do any mistakes. The product has properties. You see, these are the property names: ID, name, quantity, and price. ID, name, quantity, and price. So ID, name. So last one, I'll make it quantity, not description. Sorry. Name, quantity, and price. That's it. Okay. Now let me just deploy this application on the server. We'll try to test this controllers method. You see, how will you place the request for this controllers method? What you'll do? So use this URL products this time. Yes, let's do that. So I'll deploy this application in the server. Okay, I didn't add the border for this table. So let's quickly add border also. Border equal to 2. Okay. So next place the request for this records here. You see products. Oops, what I did. Oh, got it. Here, actually, for each product we need to create a separate row, right? So that row also we need to create it within this for each loop itself. Okay. Yes. So we got this product records here, for which the users can place or customers can place the orders. Yes. So I hope you people got it what we did here. Is it clear for you people, all of you? Anyone got any questions? Yeah. Anyone got any questions? Let me know. Okay, good. I have a task for you people. Um, I want you people to add the options to edit this product records and to edit the records, delete the records. For each row, I want you people to add an option to delete, also edit the records, modify that record. So will you people try this? You got the requirement, all of you? So what you will do? Yes. If you have to edit the records and delete the records, what you will do? Yes.
Mm, Using alter.
Alter. Okay. I mean here, what option you'll add in this form?
Edit button.
Edit button.
Yes, edit button. So, and
And update.
update. Yeah. So, especially I'm very much concerned about edit option here, which you will provide. If user clicks on that edit button, you should provide some support for the users to modify the product record. So how will you do that? Yeah, you got that option. You got the point, right? You got that question.
We'll write an update query in the database.
I mean, I'm talking about user interface point of view, from user interface point of view. Here, what I want to do, I want to provide an option for the users to update or modify this product record here in the page. You got the point, right? How the user will be able to edit the record, tell me here in the page. What user needs? So I will add this, export this project to the Google Drive. Meanwhile, you think about it. First, you got the question, all of you. Is my question clear? So when user clicks on that edit button, okay, you'll add a button, that's fine. You should provide some option for the users to edit the record in the page how the users will be able to edit the record, that's my question.
ADF checkboxes, put checkboxes
Checkbox, how the users can use checkbox.
in front of product ID.
No, I mean, I'm not talking about selecting the records.
Mm,
Like whenever edit or delete, I mean edit or update we are doing, it should enable on the fields over there so that we can update it.
You see, as of now, it's just a table, right? If I try to type in something, I can't do anything, right? Can we modify these values here? No. Yeah. So when user clicks on that edit button, okay, we'll have edit button. For each row, we'll add edit button. So here, the thing is, you need to think about an option which helps us or which allows us to modify the values of this product here in the page and then update them. Got it? So in this case, you can provide a pop-up form. A pop-up form. Actually, we call it as a model form. Model form. So this model form, when user clicks on that edit button, I want to display a pop-up form. The form should pop up, and in that form, you should have the product details, and users should be able to modify the product details. Users should be able to modify the product details. I hope you people got it right. So you need a form or some option to edit that product details, right? A form, a pop-up form. Yeah. So try to work on this task. Okay. So it will be interesting and helpful for you people. So I have added this code to your respective folders, Google Drive folder. Under the code folder, you should see this code. Go through this. Try to work with this MVC flow. Okay. Yes. So I'll do one thing. I'll stop it here today, and let's meet tomorrow at our sorry, what time? Did I give you any other time tomorrow? No, right? Okay. So let's meet day after tomorrow at our regular time. Tomorrow you can take a break. And meanwhile, but use this break time, practice this as much as possible. So try to get yourself comfortable with MVC. I've added all the code to your Google Drive. You'll find it. Make sure that you work with this flow. Also implement this task which I gave you to edit the records, especially deleting it won't be that difficult, but editing the records, you try to work with it. So you got some JavaScript knowledge, right? Even you got some jQuery knowledge. So try to use jQuery for that purpose. Yeah, fine. So if you have any difficulty in working with the task, you can just contact me. Do not hesitate. Okay then. Thanks. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.